Doodle doo doo doo. Wow. Hello everybody, welcome to Xucaboa 100% Vanilla Baby, episode number 24. As you see, I have 0 of my mods enabled. We'll load up our last save, episode number 23. As always, I'd like to say thank you, gracias, obrigado to new Xucaboa citizens. This episode we have Alan Dunwell, Jabril Smith, Cesar Matias Diaz, and Dean Monday. Be sure to check out City Skylines Vanilla Facebook group and share your cities with thousands of others. Here is a photo of Xuca on a video call before I even met her. I was in the United States and she was in Portugal. I came about a week later and finally met Xuca. So now here we are living together. We'll take a look at what we did last episode. You see I've got this super tight, super smooth parallel road, parallel highway going towards this new service interchange. Very large interchange, long sweeping angles that allow for this new highway to connect to this old one. But Scratch Gamer had mentioned in the comments last episode that all the traffic is still going to the left here into this one lane. It won't be a while until we have a lot of traffic going on this 2-lane over here. So instead of switching them around, I'm just going to make this also a 2-lane. That'll handle a little bit more traffic. The speed limit also increases by 20. It's 80 on one lane and 100 on a 2-lane. And it's 100 on all the rest of the highways. Really just the one lane is a little bit less. So we just took a look and made sure that it's looking, that it's all going in the right direction. Now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to clear out some of these bushes here. I'm going to redesign this track angle. I was looking at it and I was hoping, I'm like, maybe there's a possibility I can squeeze in a tighter angle so the train doesn't have to make such a sharp turn going underneath this overpass. And sure enough, I can do it. If you look, I just squeeze right in between those pillars there and the angle is a lot smoother, a lot nicer. So that's just a little bit of a fix. You see now how it is as close to a straight line as possible while going around that curve. Very, very light angles. Now, looking at all these bushes, it's time to get rid of them. So I'm going to do a quick super time lapse here and do some bushwhacking. Get rid of all of this stuff because it's eating up my tree count. They are hard to see. They don't really give any visual change to the map. So I'm going to get rid of all the ones in this area, at least. There's probably a few that got buried under the roads when I was putting them in, but for the most part, that should really help out a lot. And I'll do a quick save here, episode 24, bushwhacking, because I don't want to ever have to do that again. There's still more bushes to do over on the other side of the river, but we'll deal with that some other time. Right now I'm thinking in this area, this is all resources. There is ore in the mountain, there is oil right by that different color soil, that different color ground, and then it's actually, there's no forestry there yet, but it's kind of a cool spot where forestry could go in the future. So I'm going to start just really quick setting up, access for industries when I put them in. As if you look at my demand bars right now, industry is the lowest. I have no real demand for industry. But I also want to start bumping up my weekly income. It's a little bit low now. It fluctuates between positive and negative. I think it's still overall, I'm coming out ahead, but nonetheless, it's better to have a huge income than a smaller one. So in the future, I'll be putting in some industries DLC areas over here. So in order to do that, I just want to get this out of the way while I'm thinking about this interchange. We'll add 2 off-ramps going underneath, over top of the train track. You see I'm using gravel roads to help me design them, make sure they're all very smooth. And it gets a little bit wonky here. I just gotta redo it a few times and then it comes out pretty nice. And then we'll upgrade that to a 2. So yeah, that'll be, you have one going to the right, which will head towards the island, and then one going to the left, which heads off the map. One heading to the east. Now for this side, if I put in just a simple on and off ramp over in this area, that should cover the rest. Or almost all of the rest. They're still going to be coming from the west. I'll need access, but this will cover coming from the island, because they'll do a turnaround on the big loop in the surface interchange. And it'll also cover coming from the east, because they'll be heading that direction anyway. So they can just come off here, get into this area, and then exit on the same spot. So we'll do a pretty short ramp system right here, just using some guides to make sure everything is parallel and smooth. A little bit tricky keeping things smooth when you're building up on a slope, but it's possible. You just have to be careful and use the slope tool and make sure everything comes out nice. Seems like I got a little bit off angle there, but that'll be all right. It's not a huge deal. So now I'm going to start making my ramps like that. Going on, going off. We'll just smooth out this little piece right here. And there we go. Make that some lane mathematics with the 2-lane. We'll make sure all of this slope is nice now that we're changing things a little bit. It's looking good. No crazy bumps or anything. So now we've got access to all these points. We just need something coming from the west over here in this direction. There's no way to get off of that and turn into that area. So I'm thinking this is a little bit unusual, but I've seen things like this in real life. So check this out. This is gonna be an industrial. Ooh, look at all these little bushes hiding in the forest. Get rid of those. Get out of here. So I've seen things like this in real life. I can't really remember where, but I've definitely seen things like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a road that comes right off of the highway alongside the railroad track. See? And then I'm going to make it into an industrial road, an industrial one-way. And that will slow down the speed quite a bit, but also it gives 2 lanes. So we'll do that, and then I'm just gonna have a railroad crossing right here. It's a little bit tight. I don't know if you would see this in a lot of places. This might have been something that was done a long time ago. If we're looking at this from a realistic perspective, I don't think this sort of thing you can really get away with anymore in a lot of places, because there's much stricter requirements for on and off angles and things like that. But we'll just have it sweep around like that and go underneath those 3 bridges. But before we continue, I'm just going to work on this angle a little bit, make it a little bit nicer there. So it really, you can just hook right around and go underneath. And then we'll have a bridge, another bridge, cross over here. So we'll extend our one-way industrial road and sweep it over there. Now you see it raises up a bit with the going over the river. You get quite this large bump. I don't know if I like that, so we're gonna do the old trick learned from Captain Obvious a very long time ago, where you dig a trench. We'll kind of redefine the borders of the river here and sweep it. I have to actually unpause the simulation for it to work. Then we'll sweep it there, and we'll fill back in the land that we took away underneath the river where the water goes. And after just a moment, let's take a look and see how it settles out. Now that is pretty close. It's nice, but it's almost a little too close. I don't know if I like it. It's just too close to the water. So I think I'm gonna go with the bump, but with a single pillar right in the middle, just like that. And I think that's a little bit more reasonable, because if you ever have any torrential rain or anything, that bridge is going to get completely flooded. Not that the game would specifically do that, but it just seemed like it was way too close for an industrial bridge. Now, to connect this area, I think a roundabout will be best, because there's going to be a lot of industrial traffic, right? This is going to be an industries area in general, so that means a lot of trucks, and we want to make sure that our roundabout can accommodate all of that traffic coming in and going out at the same time, because there's not a lot of access points into this area, right? We're kind of separated by the highway and the railroad track, so just those new entrance and exits that I made are the only way to really get in or out. So the nice thing about coming on with a one-way and going off with a one-way is that the angles can be a lot sharper because you only have to worry about, you know, the vehicle going in that one direction. You don't have to worry about vehicles coming from the opposite direction and hooking, making a very acute angle turn. So here I'm just trying to make this look as nice as possible using my freeform tool, and every time I do it, it comes out just a little bit wonky, you know, not quite as nice as I would like, but I think it can be done. We'll just keep trying a little bit. And I don't like it. So what I'm going to do instead is do just a simple trick to make a symmetrical system like this, which is to go through the middle with a single piece and then bam, hook it, and then bam, hook it with the bend road tool, the curve road tool. So there we go. That part looks nice. Now I want to have this industrial road enter the roundabout right there. And that way they'll kind of slow down as they're coming around and then get right on in. Just merge seamlessly right into the traffic there. And we'll have this come off at a different angle. So we have lots of nodes in there that are open that allow for lane changes in the roundabout. So that should facilitate some pretty good traffic flow, I hope. It is on the smaller side of roundabouts, but I think it's still a pretty good roundabout. We'll see. We'll just do a little bit of terrain work here. Kind of make this little plateau along the rail where those off-ramps will go. And instead of doing anything more, I'm just going to save. We'll call this episode 24.1. We'll get rid of the bushwhacking and save it. Here's a photo of Xuca having a chomp on some grass. We grow some grass on our balcony in a little box because she likes grass and she can't go outside so easily because we're not on a ground floor. So having that grass there makes her a very happy cat. She can chomp on it when she wants. Now, instead of continuing work over where we were just doing all that interchange stuff, we'll go over here. And I want to rename Zephyr Hill because of what I was saying last episode. And we'll call it Mount T-Rex because I think T-Rexes are cool. I was thinking about it. My nephew, he really likes dinosaurs. So there is Mount T-Rex will be the name of that instead of Zephyr Hill, which is kind of weird. We'll do a little bit of terrain work here, start adding some roads. We're going to do start making plans for a little bit of residential development in this area because we have a lot of residential demand and we don't have any industrial demand. So to get industrial, we need to have more residents. There's just too many jobs, not enough people. And so I'm thinking I'll try to follow this little ridge that I made as close as I can. And then instead of connecting up there where the junction would be close, I'll just hook back. And there's no real reason for this other than I think it looks kind of cool. We'll have this road, instead of being a dead end, we'll have it swing over this way and connect here. And there. Just a little bit of variety in the shape of the streets. No real traffic management reason or anything like that. But because we have this large gap in the roads, I do want to have some pedestrian connection. So we'll put in just a simple concrete path right there. And now I'm thinking too, where is that road going to ultimately go? We're going to have to get across the highway eventually to make a neighborhood in this other side. So I'm thinking right here is a good spot for a bridge, just an overpass. And we'll do it pretty simple with a single step on the elevation tool, right in between, instead of trying to dig a trench or anything like that. That'll work just fine. And we'll do a tiny little, I don't know what shape you'd call that, tilde, maybe. Yeah, I think that's kind of a tilde. We'll do a bridge like that. And then we'll upgrade it to a bicycle path because I think we're going to want to have bikes going across. We'll get all this road going this way to at least here. And I think we need I think it'll be better if we have a bicycle path connection. Yeah, we'll put one right here. That way the bikes can go from this street over to the new street. And we'll rig it up so that the lights are on opposite sides, and we'll put in some decoration to cover up that janky business. But they kind of float, which doesn't look nice, so this won't hide as much of the jankiness, but it's terrain conforming, so it'll follow the terrain because there's a little bit of a slope right there. Yeah, looking at this, there's a lot of area to grow. I think we can start putting in maybe a little bit more commercial over here. We'll see what we get. Although I'm not entirely sure what I want there just yet, so let's come back to that. Here, because there's a ridge so close to the road, I'm gonna put a fence. I'm using the amusement park fence for some variety. It's a nice colorful rail on it. I'll have that do this entire spot. Now let's zone a little bit of high density commercial right there. And since we're getting closer to residential, we'll put in an office block right there. And we'll upgrade all that to a bike road too, since there's that connection right there. All right, that's looking pretty good. Look at how bright this high school is. Mike A, man, your high school is outrageously bright. They're like floodlights shining down to blind anyone who is standing out front. I don't understand why that asset has such large, bright floodlights everywhere. It's ridiculous. I don't know if I'm gonna use that high school again for that very reason. So now up on the street, I'm gonna put in some high density residential. You see I have it so that it's gonna look down towards Robin Square, over top of that ridge. And we'll mark just a couple of them historical for variety's sake, and then we'll let the others level up and see what we get. But right now, I'm thinking too, we wanna maybe put in just a little quick pedestrian connection right here. It'll be a little bit nicer. Now, something I've been thinking about, we should start doing the buildings to name after people. And something I've been thinking about is having a metro station in this area, because we have the metro station over in the industrial waterfront area, the Miguel metro station. So here I'm going to use one of these new trains CCP stations. I think they're kind of cool. This one's pretty sleek. It's kind of small, but it has this space where it has to have a road go in it. So I'm going to work with that a little bit to try to get the look I want. I almost kind of want it to be like a little park with this asset in the middle of it. But since we have to, that's where the road connection is, the street connection. We have to have something there. I think if I use this boulevard, like we have down on the beach, but the one with a bus and taxi lane, and we connect into that, that kind of makes for a nice bus stop and taxi stop. To have people come when they get off the metro, then maybe there's a little bit of public transport waiting for them. And we will name this, our first named building of the episode, the Allen Dunwell, no, we'll call it the Allen D Metro. There we go. And now I want to keep all of my metro above ground as much as possible. I want to keep almost everything above ground unless there's a real reason not to. So far I just have the one train tunnel in the city that goes under a highway exit. So here, because we have this elevation change, I think it's a perfect opportunity to take a metro line, run it underground. Let me turn on my angle snapping here. We'll run it there, and then have it pop out just right here. And it should look like, yep, it just goes straight in. So there's just a, tiny amount of space where it's underground, and then it can swing out above ground from there. And we'll figure out a cool thing to do with that. But for now, I think that's what we'll do. We'll leave it turned off We'll set up our metro connections in a future episode, in the near future. Looking at our water availability and sewage treatment, that's something we got to think about soon. They're starting to get pretty low, sewage especially. But before we do that, let's put in another building. Now, we were talking about this in the City Skylines Vanilla Facebook group. There was a thread going on about what is the purpose of post offices. And the thing is, they give happiness. So we'll call this the Jabril S. Post Office. And this should make the neighboring businesses and residences happier. And you see already, this one just leveled right up into this nice building. We'll make that historical. Not that we need to, because it's the highest level. We got this office leveling up. So the post offices are good. They do add a little bit of traffic with the postal vehicles. But really what they do is they just add some happiness. They're like a park or a service or something like that. Now let's get back to the sewage. We'll get rid of these old treatment plants, which are very polluting. And we'll put in, since we've unlocked everything now, we'll put in the Advanced Eco Inland Plant, which actually does have some ground pollution. It has, I think, 7 ground pollution, but it has a lot of capacity. We'll put in the 2 of those. It's the least polluting ground asset. And for the water, we'll move Anthony M. Water Tower off of the Mount T-Rex, because that's a little bit small, and instead we'll use this large water tower. Kind of looks like a UFO on top. We'll call this the Anthony M. Water Tower. So there you go, Anthony. You got an upgrade. Nice job. And there we go. Water through the roof now. Now, I'm going to check the canal district because I still have a suspicion that every time we add a lot of water to the system, this pump gets inundated for a moment. And it looks like that's exactly what's happening. Yep, we have some flooding here. That pump in the canal it pulls a little bit less water when there's a new source of water added. But I have a feeling it will equalize itself. And so let's just watch for a moment. And it looks like that's what's happened. So an interesting mechanic. Interesting that when you add water like that, the other pumps just do work a little bit less hard for a moment. We'll do a quick nighttime lapse here over at the City Skylines Vanilla Facebook group bridge. Till the sun comes up, we'll get back to work over on the island. We have 2 of these office buildings that are the same. And they're both nice, but I don't want 2. So we'll get rid of this one. And we'll make this into high density residential instead. You know what? Instead of zoning any office right there, I think I'm just going to get rid of it because I don't want to have anything blocking the view of these residential buildings. And in that vein, I will also add some low density residential. The first low density residential on this side of the island. I think there was actually just one down by the beach. One single piece of property. But now we'll just do these little 1-bys as terraces. Got a couple of 2x2s, but otherwise it's all of these little 1-bys, and we'll let them level up and get kind of a variety of these row houses or whatever you want to call them. Oh, that building is kind of cool, but it's very dark green. It's also kind of big for the back. I don't think I want to keep it. We'll get rid of it. And now let's watch our buildings here level up. We'll just mark a couple historical again as we get what we like. Our garbage processing status is still good for this area, despite the garbage being on the other side of the map. Our schooling will catch up to those new buildings, but I think it's pretty good. We got the community school and the high school there. Our death care, I do want to add a cemetery here soon, but I'm still not entirely sure where I want that. So I'm just checking out all the stats to see if there's anything that's really lacking. Our traffic is at 92%, 91%, so it's improving. That's great. Our noise pollution is reasonable. It's where we expect it to be. It's not interfering with residences, but our fire safety over here is pretty bad. It seems like the one fire station, the Roslyn fire station down at the beach, just covers the beach. So we'll add a big fire station up here. I think it blends in with these buildings well. The only other one we have is the Captain Obvious fire station like this over in Twisterville. We'll call this the Cesar M. fire station. Now that's not MD like Christina MD, medical doctor, that's Matias Diaz. But we'll call that the Cesar fire station, and that will be his. We'll add a couple of walking paths to connect up there because we have all of these weird, long, curvy streets. And I think we'll add one right here too. We'll use the zoo paths because I do think they look really nice. Now we've got this background space behind this office, and I think maybe, nah, let's not do that. Let's use tiles, park tiles. And we'll do, just like we did with the Builder Magazine headquarters, we'll use these park tiles to make a little bit of a plaza around this office building. Nothing fancy, just a little bit of detail for an office building. Because I feel like very few office buildings like that would just be standing there with nothing at all around them. There should be a little bit of space around them, I'm sure. You know, for fire drills, if people gotta exit, they have to have a muster point. So we'll fill in the back with these trees, these simple trees that you see on the zoo paths. I think they look nice. We'll throw in just a few other trees for variety, but mostly those trees, they're pretty small. We'll put those behind the 1x1 houses. Now, another thing we were talking about at the City Skylines Facebook group is the taxis. There was a great thread about that. I actually learned quite a bit about them. But that's made me think that I want to put one in. We'll call this the Dean M Taxi Depot. And we'll put it right there by the Just Kano Disaster Response Unit. And I think we'll put in a taxi rink or a taxi stand right there. And I think we should have one down here, kind of close to the cable car and ferry stop. And I don't know if they're going to get used because we have a lot of tourists on this side. The taxis should always be busy, but if they're not busy, they'll go to the taxi stands and wait. Now we'll just detail around the new Allendale Metro station a little bit with some of these trees. They're the same trees that are already on the asset, which is nice. And we'll add in a couple of those nice pink flowery trees too in the middle. Now these houses are starting to level up. I think we can mark one or two of them historical. These ones I think are from the University City, I think it's called, the pack, the DLC pack with the university style houses. I'm not sure. It seems like in some other people's games, when I'm watching on YouTube, you see that you can mark a district like that, like the European suburbia, but I don't have that option. I'm not sure if mine is working right or not. So it doesn't matter, they just spawn randomly. And some of them are pretty cool, but the lower level ones have trash, some trash around them, so I do want them to level up. See all these people walking all the way around to get that crosswalk. We'll add something here to make a crosswalk. Although it does interrupt the bike path, which I don't totally like, but there's no reason to have a walking bridge on a little street like that. We'll just put a couple of offices here. Expand this part a little bit. I don't think I'm going to go too much in this area right now because I do want residents more than anything, but we'll just add a little bit of stuff. Let's detail a little bit of jungle in this awkward shape. Making a nice little green section of city. And we'll get ready for our next night time lapse. Right here, looking at the Luna and Pebbles clock tower, spinning around. As you see, it looks like the sun comes up around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Pretty neat. I think I'm going to do a time lapse there in the future, just looking at that clock go. I think it's really a cool asset. Now, as these buildings level up, we'll mark some historical, or we'll wait. Really, I'm not adding a lot at all this episode. If you look, you just see I'm putting in really just this new block. A couple of special buildings. Do a little bit more detailing around the back of these commercial and office buildings. Just kind of playing around to see what looks nice. There, I think that's okay. Kind of an open space on the corner there. Yeah, now that one building leveled up, this other one is leveling up right now, and you see it's got that trashy van in the back. It's otherwise a decent house, but it's the same one as the one right next to it, so we'll wait and see which one levels up first. Add a few more trees, kind of in those gaps between buildings. I think that's kind of a nice look. We'll just wait and see what levels up. Here we go. That is a nice looking house. I do like that one. We'll keep that. And we'll mark the other one historical. I know it's got the junky van in the back, but it's in the back. It's hidden behind the trees. Stuff like that happens in real life. Let's see what happens to this building. Oh, we got that dark green ugly one again. So we'll get rid of that and wait and see what grows next. I guess we'll just have to wait and see for that to level up. These buildings I think would look really cool right next to each other, except they all have that green billboard on them. And having those in a row looks weird. If one of them had it, it would be fine, but since all of them have it, it's kind of weird. Now I think right here, maybe we'll put in a little bit of low density commercial. And we get a restaurant, but that's kind of weird being across from the houses. So let's just put a house. What do we got? This white house with the black roof, little sandbox out front. It's kind of nice. It is kind of close to that very large office area on Mount T-Rex. I don't know if that really fits in well. We'll come back to that. Maybe it'll level up into something cool. I think it's really neat during these time lapses. You see the lights go on and off in the buildings. Take another quick look at these low density one bys. Mark a couple. I like those ones with the red roof on them. I think that'll look good in a tropical map. And just a couple trees here, so we don't have that empty spot. A few bushes. I'm not going to put any jungle right there. It's an office block. I think they would have gotten rid of a lot of the dense jungle. Let's get rid of that. I don't think it looks right. But what could look right is a high density residential. So we'll put one in, same size, and we'll see what we get. You know what? I like this building. I actually don't have any on this side of the map. I use them a lot on the other side, but on this side I don't have one yet, so we'll leave that. We'll mark that historical. And now, instead of doing cinematics, because my cinematic camera didn't work right, I'm going to grab onto this seagull and hit the camera button, and we'll just follow it around. Take a look. So, yeah, I think this is actually pretty cool, following the seagull around. Well, I was thinking about this the other day when I saw a video on YouTube that was recommended to me of a guy, he seems like a pretty young dude, who trained a seagull at his window for 69 days by feeding it, and it was hysterical. I was laughing quite a lot watching it. Very good video. So I was thinking, when I go back, I'll do something with the seagull. Here we do. We'll follow it around. Gives us some nice bird's eye view of the whole area we just did work in. This whole area of Robin Square. And yeah, that will kind of be it for the episode. Not a whole lot of growth, but we did get the residential demand down a little bit, and we got the industrial up a little bit, which is good. We're starting to add a little bit of low density residential, and I think this is going to start to taper off as we get closer to the highway. Maybe on the other side of the highway, we'll see. But I don't want this whole island to be high density. It should have some different tiers of housing and businesses and other things like that. So we'll do that. But look at this nice metro station. I think that'll be pretty cool. I do think it's kind of weird that it's open on top. In a tropical map, I feel like that would just get lots of rainwater. It does rain here quite a bit, but this way at least we can see down into it the trains going in and out, which is nice. Yeah, following this bird has been pretty cool. Thank you everybody for watching. This has been Xucaboa, 100% Vanilla Baby, episode number 24. And I will see you next time.